I'm here with the incredible Dr. Terri Orbuch. Not only am I delighted that I can call her a friend, which is a huge honor, but she's also been my mentor for many, many years. And I just look up to her on so many levels. I've got two of her books here. I haven't got the third one, Terri. I need to sort that out. And there's the 5 simple steps to take your marriage from good to great and finding love again. And in this podcast, I want to explore finding love again and what all of that is. Terri, would you like to introduce yourself? And thank you for being here.
Oh, Jen, thank you for those kind words. And it is a pleasure to be here. I so enjoy talking to you about love and relationships. So I'm a psychologist. I mean, you know this, Jen, but I'm telling other
Yeah.
people. I'm a psychologist. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm a date and relationship coach, a researcher, an author, a speaker, and known as the love doctor in the media. So I wear many hats and I really enjoy my work. But a lot of what I do comes from science, comes from research. I've been the director of this long-term research project funded by the National Institutes of Health in the United States, where I've been following the same 373 couples now for over 35 years. And once couples divorce, or a partner experiences the loss of a partner due to death, we or I continue to follow the individuals to see about how they cope and adjust, the effects on children, and who repartners and who doesn't. And I like to say, Jen, that it's we because it's a large project and there are many people, graduate students, other research scientists like myself, who have been on this project since 1986, which
Wow,
is a
that's
long
just incredible. And it's still the largest project in history, isn't
time.
it, across the world that has focused on couples and the biggest study on relationships that
Mhm.
I can remember ever being done.
Absolutely, Jen. And the really important thing is we continue to follow the same individuals. So it's not like we take a new group of couples or singles and look at them. It's really looking at relationships and dating and finding love over time.
Yeah, yeah, and how that evolves. And I'd love to do a deep dive with you now
Mhm.
because we're going to take the topic of finding love again, which is your book. It's one of the workshops that I run for people who are wanting to find love again. And it's probably the most popular workshop that I've ever run is about finding love again because people struggle. And they struggle for so many different reasons to either get their confidence back. They keep
Mhm.
comparing people to someone that they've dated before. They get stuck in their head on a certain type. It's what I was guilty of. We're all guilty
Mhm.
when we're starting to
Right.
find love again of something, whatever that is. What's your biggest finding that stops people from partnering once they've
Mhm.
separated or been widowed? And is there a difference between those divorcing and those who suffer a loss?
Mhm. And first of all, that those are all really good questions. The first thing that I like to say, Jen, is that there is hope, there is optimism that finding love again is 100% possible because of those who divorced or lost a spouse due to death, 71%
Wow.
found love again. And that is a huge percentage if we're following people over time. So I like to start with that because hope and optimism is so important in terms of attracting others and finding love again. So you asked me first, what is the number one thing that prevents people
Yeah.
from finding love again? And I think it's that the past, the emotional baggage that we all carry with us prevents us from moving forward.
Yeah.
So it's so important to recast the past, to let go of the emotional baggage
Mm.
connected to the past. And what I found in my study is that those singles who were able to say, I don't feel much of anything toward my ex, my former partner. I don't feel hate. I'm not upset. I'm not frustrated. Those are all those negative emotions.
Yeah.
Or they didn't feel like I want this back. I'm pining away. Or if I only would have done this differently,
Yeah.
I could have, would have had. And so it's really this neutral state where you don't feel positive or negative, strong emotions,
Yeah.
that people were significantly more likely to find love again. So it is so important that we let go of those emotions.
Mm.
And it's not easy. It is very difficult. It is challenging. And by the way, we all have some emotional baggage. So it's letting go of the strong negative and positive emotions.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
people always ask how to do that. People come to
Well, I was
you,
going to
people come
ask.
to me. Well, that's just on my mind, right? Okay. If it's so important, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And I talk a lot about different strategies in my book, but one of the ones that I think is different and most surprising is what I call reassigning the blame for why the relationship ended in the past. And
Mm.
so most people either blame their prior or previous partner. He, she, they were emotionally unavailable, had an affair, they were gambling, they had an addiction, right? Or they blame themselves. I was emotionally unavailable.
Mm.
I had an affair. I should have done something different. And when you blame partner or yourself, you
Mm.
hold on to either the negative or the sad emotions.
Mm.
So it's really important to do what I call we blame statements. So you look at the two of you because it
Yeah.
takes two to tango in a relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So instead, you want to say we had different views
Yeah.
about commitment. We didn't trust one another. We married too early. We had different views about what it takes to be in a good relationship. And when you do that we blame statement, you let go of the negative or you let go of the positive.
Mm.
And so
Mm.
that's a really important strategy that I think we all can work with. And I think coming up with 5 or 6 we blame statements is so important to letting go
Yeah.
of the past.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when I work with clients, I always start with the past and putting the
Mhm.
past where it needs to be, because you can't look at the future, and you certainly can't look at even where you are today until you've put the past in its place, because it's got
Mhm.
to go in its place with whatever tools and strategies you need to do that. And I love the we bit because it is always I or they, them, you know, it's always a them or us
Right.
problem. And it's, I think the we takes the pressure off the whole situation actually,
Right.
which is
You can
very,
just feel your shoulders,
oh, you can, oof.
right? De-stress. Like you said, putting the past in its place.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you're carrying that with you on your
totally.
shoulders, in your back, in your head, in your stomach. And
Mm,
like you said at the beginning, Jen, I mean, then you're comparing the past to the present.
yeah,
Then you can't be fully present at the now to
yeah,
move forward.
yeah,
And that's what you really need to do to find love again, is to let go of the past, see the present for what it is at the moment, not compare,
yeah.
break the patterns, the relationship patterns, and move forward.
So that's the past.
Mhm.
What are things kind of in the present that people get stuck on that you found were unhealthy or unhelpful, or kept them, regurgitating the same things? With your
Mhm.
study, obviously you've got that data that we can all
Mhm.
draw upon.
Well, the first thing that I think is so important is to remember that it's all about us as individuals. I think many people think, oh, if I would just meet the right person, there aren't any good partners out there anymore. I don't have a way to meet other people. I'm busy. I have children. I work 24/7. I have to put food on the table. And if we focus on that, we will not recognize that it really is important to look within us.
Mm.
And that's what's important. And the first really important thing within us is to figure out and identify what are our key life values.
Yeah.
What are those attitudes, underlying attitudes, key values that we live our lives by, that are most important to us, that define us? And
Yeah.
there are many, but there are 5 or 6 important top common key life values. For example, the importance of children and family, the role of faith or spirituality or religion,
Yeah.
our approach to money and finances,
Yeah.
or the importance of a job and a career. And fifth, perhaps, how fitness and health comes into our lives. And so if we can all look at those common key life values and pick our top 2 that we live our lives by,
Yeah.
that is so important, because then when we are out there trying to find love again, we're looking for someone who is similar in those top key life values in terms of the priority as well as the content of
Yeah.
those key life values. So I like to say, and we've talked about this many times, Jen, that it has nothing to do with similarity
No.
in terms of hobbies or interests or
No.
food preferences or movie likes or music.
Yeah.
It has to do with these key life values
Yeah.
and similarity in those key life values.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And since I did the training with you many years ago, and my focus has totally been on values and how you match people on values. The other thing I always say to people, especially those that are finding love again, is I ask them what their key life values are, and we demystify that and we explore that. But the most important thing is, what are they with who you are today?
Yes.
Because what I find with a lot of people is they go back to those key life values that they were looking at and looking for the last time they dated, because they
Right.
don't take into account who they are now. They don't even want to acknowledge, I'm a 50, 60, 70-year-old person dating. Their brain goes
Mhm.
back to, oh, the last time I dated, I was in my 20s. So
Right.
this is what was important to me last time I dated. And I think people do get stuck in
Mhm.
that past bit of
Yeah.
that's their value pot. And it's absolutely fine if it doesn't change. But I do think values as you get older, especially people might not, career and work might not be the same as it was in their 20s,
Exactly.
in their 50s and
And I would
60s.
have probably and I would probably argue, Jen, that our key life values do change because
Totally.
our circumstances, like you said,
Yeah.
change.
And life change.
So what?
Children grow up.
Yes.
They leave home.
Yes, absolutely. Finances are
Yeah.
different. Like you said, career,
Yeah.
the role of children and family changes. So we need to look at ourselves now. And a question that you asked me at the beginning, how does finding love again change from your 20s, 30s to your 50s,
Yes.
60s, 70s, and even 80s, even 90s, by the
Yeah.
way? It's
Yeah.
never too late, and you're never too old to find love again. I think that there are many things that are different. One is that as we get older, we recognize that we do change, and
Mm.
it is okay that we change and that we are influenced by our circumstances. I
Mm.
think it is more difficult to find the right person in terms of methods or ways. When we're 20 and 30, we may be still in school. We may be in a job that has a lot of other people our age. or we might be going to a health club or different activities, right? And so there are these pools of eligible others that are much more available to us than when we are in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. But the other thing that science shows us is that the older we get, the more confident we are about who we are and what we need from a partner. And so that's something that's, again, very optimistic and hopeful, that we are more confident and we know what we need than when we are in our 20s and early 30s. Also, we know that technology has changed the way we date and find love. And sometimes people in their 50s, 60s, and older are hesitant or more technologically challenged, so to speak.
It's a nice way to put it.
Than in their 20s and 30s. But today, technology is a big part of finding love again, whether it be the apps, the online dating sites, texting, Zooming, video chatting, FaceTiming, right? It is a part of finding love again.
It is. And I think there are so many challenges when you come out of a relationship for whatever reason. Do you think it's easier or harder if you've lost a partner through bereavement than perhaps divorce? Is there a difference that you see?
I definitely see a difference because recasting the past is not as important as it is if you've experienced divorce or a long-term relationship breakup. But I'm not sure that one or the other is easier or more challenging. It is different and it is a different process. But it turns out that the factors or the strategies to find love are exactly the same.
Okay, interesting.
It's just our emotions connected to our former partner.
Yes.
Because we don't have to let go of the positive emotions connected to a spouse or partner if we've lost that partner or spouse due to death. We can still feel positive. We can still have pictures. We still can think about them. We can talk about that partner or spouse with a new partner. So it's a different process regarding the past. But the current, present, going forward is extremely, very definitely similar. And the process of building a happy, healthy relationship is similar as well.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I get a lot of people who've lost a partner through bereavement. They will often say that they have an enormous amount of guilt when they start dating. And that's something that we always work on and before we move on. So I think that's probably the only bit that feels different for me, is you don't often get the guilt with the divorce unless you've been the one that's instigated it or created the breakup for whatever reason.
And you know, I think it's important to remember that guilt is just should statements, that we feel guilt because we think there is some should process or should pattern, right?
Okay.
People who experience divorce also feel a lot of guilt regarding the kids, that they should have stayed together for the children, or that they shouldn't date again because of the children. So guilt, if we can let go of those expectations that don't match reality, right? You can feel better about dating and finding love again, whether it's divorce, a breakup, or the death of a partner or spouse.
It's interesting. So I'm going to shift gear a little bit now. And I'm going to talk about something that we spoke about in September, because I was almost doing cartwheels when you announced. the new data from the work that you've been doing with regard to hobbies and interests, because so many times people get fixated on, well, you know, in America it's pickleball, over here it's either football, or I've got to have someone who likes football or is open to me liking football, or you know, I go walking at weekends, I need someone who's going to walk with me. People get fixated on these hobbies and interests, and if they don't meet someone who's got those hobbies and interests, then they almost write them off from the beginning. I've always been, great that you don't share the same hobbies and interests. You can actually learn something from those people, and now you've got the data to prove it, which was so exciting.
Exactly. And
Please
it is
share it.
exciting.
I want to sing it from the room. It's not just me going mad.
It is not just you. And like you said, when somebody has different interests and hobbies, they bring it to the relationship. And like you said, you learn something new, different, and exciting. And that adds passion
Yes.
to a relationship.
Yeah.
So those differences are good. And like you said, if we partner with somebody who is exactly like us,
how boring.
And that is not good for a relationship.
Well, certainly not a long-lasting relationship. It could just be a lust, it could be a lustful moment. And I love your talk, is it lust or is it love? And I think that's a whole other podcast. But it's you know, it's okay if it's a lust thing, but not for a love thing.
Not for a love thing, because it's really, as we said, it's about those underlying values that you live your life by.
Yeah.
So it's not the specific hobbies or athletic activities, or you both play golf or whatever. It's about the underlying attitudes that are important to you and how you define yourself. Now, that being said, if one person likes to be healthy and active and the other person doesn't at all and likes to game and not get out of the house, that's a difference in underlying values about the importance of health and fitness.
But then that goes back down to values, doesn't it? Because that's priority with values. So yeah.
Exactly. So it's so important to differentiate different interests from different underlying values. So you can have differences in hobbies and, as we said, athletic activities and movie preferences. You like romance novels, he likes horror movies, right? And the
that's about right.
So true, right?
Yeah.
I was speaking from experience as well.
Like watching, you know, tell me when it's over. Tell me when it's over.
The other important, as I just said about the romance novels and the horror movies, is that it's okay, and I have the data to support this as well. It's okay to have different hobbies and preferences and movie likes that you do separately as well. That having me time, having different friends, having things that you do as an individual really keeps a relationship happy and healthy long term. One of the things that the spouses who had been together long term, happily long term in my research, said is that me time is so very important. And when I don't get enough of it, when I'm not satisfied with the amount of me time that I get, and me time was defined as going out with friends, having your own interests and hobbies, going to the movies, right? Without your partner, but a friend or solo. If you're not satisfied with the amount that you get of that me time, you're dissatisfied with the relationship. So it is so important to get that me time as well.
Yeah. And I totally agree. You've got to keep investing in you during this process. And the last thing, I think we've got a little bit of time, so I just want to, because I love your TED talk on, is it love or is it lust? So just as an introduction to love or lust, because so many people go on a date and they come back and their feedback is, there was no spark. there wasn't, the fireworks didn't go off for me. I didn't hear the violins, all of that sort of stuff. And I always refer people back to your TED talk on Is It Love or Is It Lust? Always,
Right.
because I can't explain it better than saying, just go and watch. Here's the link to Terri's. I can explain it, but just watch this and you'll get it. In a nutshell, why is it that people are still looking for those fireworks and those sparks, and why are they sabotaging other relationships if they're not feeling it?
Mhm. Well, I think there definitely is a difference between lust and love. And I think people are searching and craving for the lust because of our cultural norms, movies, romance novels, sitcoms, reality shows, right? That show us that you want lust and that that's what you should be searching for. Now, at the same time that I say that, and I talk about 4 ways to distinguish lust versus love in my TED Talk, or we could talk about that as well. But what you really want to be searching for is love.
Mm.
But you can have a lustful love relationship. And I think people forget that.
Yeah.
That you can have lust alone, you can have love alone, but what you really want is love that you ignite and spark the lust within that loving relationship.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
we talk to couples in my study, when we talk to couples in other studies who have been married 40, 50, 60 years, not even married, I'll say together 40, 50, 60 years, the thing that people talk about is love, friendship, intimacy, having that person to support me through the good times.
Yeah.
When I experience a raise, a promotion, I win the lottery, something good happens to me, or through the bad times, troubled times, difficulties. And that's what those partners really talk about. Yes, they talk about the excitement. And at times there's no excitement, but at times there is. But what they really talk about is that love, as I just described.
Yeah.
So, lust versus love, 4 signals. We can talk about it now or next
Go
time.
on, let's just give a little bit, and then next time we will just go into lust versus love and we will really dissect it down.
Perfect. Well, I think the first important thing is that when you feel love, you want the people who are important to you to know and spend time with this person.
Yeah.
That you're falling in love or loving, right? When you're in lust, you don't care.
Yeah.
You just want to be with the person, right? You don't care that the people who are important to you meet this person or spend time with this person, or that this partner or person meets the important people in your life. So that's a really big signal to distinguish lust versus love. And I'll give one more.
One more, just one more. Don't give too
One
much
more.
away.
When you're in love, you want the other person to know the core of who you are. You want to share things about you that either you've told few people about or nobody else knows, because you want that person to really know you.
Yeah.
So when you find yourself sharing and disclosing confidential, secret, core parts of who you are, that's a signal that you're in love. Because when you're in lust, again, you really don't share the core of who you are. You might disclose your interests and hobbies. We call that breadth about you, but not depth about you.
Amazing.
2 important things.
Very. Oh, Terri, we could talk all day, and we do.
We do. I mean, love, relationships, what better topics to
I
talk
know.
about? And they're so important in all of our lives.
Yeah.
Why not understand what keeps them together, what breaks them apart, and what keeps us happy within our relationships.
Yeah, no, so right. Dr. Terri Orbuch, if people want to find you, Amazon, Finding Love Again, 5 simple steps to take your marriage from good to great. And you've got one for parenting and children as well now, haven't you?
Yes.
Please give us the title.
It's called, that's okay, Secrets to Surviving Your Children's Love Relationships. And all 3, as you said, are on Amazon.
Yeah.
They're also on my website, Dr. Terri, DRTERRI, thelovedoctor.com, all one word, Dr. Terri, thelovedoctor.com.
Fantastic. Terri, I'd love us to do a confessional, a Dr. Terri confessional at some point of the funny
I would
stories that you've heard. Because I know you've got some incredible stories to share over the time. But Terri, thank you. Thank you so much for your time today. And for anyone watching, please like, subscribe, and keep following for more wonderful guests like Terri. So bye-bye for now. Thank you.